What's up, everyone? This is the SSFFL podcast. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Jeremy. Welcome in, guys. Let's talk some football.
And Joe's joining us in a little bit as well. So today's topics, Jeremy, are going to be going over the draft, just reviewing it. We're not going to go over every single round, but, we could definitely talk about which team you kind of liked the most in the draft, who you thought had a better draft based on the players that they got. Yeah, they did. The Bears did. They definitely did have a great draft. I remember being on the Justin Fields train a long time ago. One of the first times I talked to you, actually, and you weren't very big on him, but it might have been because you didn't think that the Bears would even have a chance to grab him. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, the fact that I felt like they shouldn't have gone quarterback because how often does a coach GM tandem get to pick two franchise quarterbacks in a tenure? But I mean, shoot, for what we had at 39 with Tevin Jenkins trading up twice in 2 days, but I thought he was good enough for 20, let alone 39.
No, I agree. I thought that they were going to go O-line, offensive tackle in that first round like that, and Jenkins was sitting there at 20, and he fell to the second round. And I understand they moved up again, and they gave away some picks for that, but I think overall that was a great move to move up for him. He was probably like there was probably two other guys in front of him, really, if you think about it. It was Slater and the guy Penny Sewell, yeah. So he was like the third best tackle on the board. So I thought they made a really great move moving up for him. Other than the Bears, though, getting Justin Fields and that guy, I think that the Jets had a pretty good draft. They did get their franchise guy in Zach Wilson. We'll see how that plays out. But they also landed a pretty good running back in Michael Carter in fourth round, I believe it was. So he kind of went late, in my opinion. And I think that they got some pretty good value there. This is a team that didn't have really an established running game, in more than the last few years. I mean, even when Bell wasn't there, they didn't really have a running game. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get things together there. They did move up in the draft to get Tucker from USC. He's a pretty good O-lineman there, so that could open up some holes for their running back and also, protect Zach Wilson too. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe Carter is actually not that bad of a pass catcher, so he could actually get some work in the receiving game. You think so?
Yeah, I mean, it's from what I understand, they don't really have a lot at that running back position. So he might be a guy that, just he'll get his 15 to 20 touches a game and go from there.
It's basically him and, Michael P. Ryan, but P. Ryan didn't really show a whole lot. But then again, the Jets O-line wasn't all that great either. So I just think that they're completely revamping their whole squad. So they're gonna get if they got a guy like that, they're gonna use him. So you should have pretty good value late in fantasy drafts. He's going really late, so I would keep my eye out for somebody like that in the later rounds. He could turn into a pretty good flex option, if not even maybe like a running back too.
Yeah, especially coming from that San Francisco tree line where they like to play run first too. They get those running backs involved, or San Francisco seemed to always have, 3-4 running backs, but, none of them were ever really fantasy dependent because you didn't know who was going to get the big home run.
Right. We're still talking about the Jets though, right? Because we're talking about Michael Carter.
Yeah. Robert Saleh coming from the San Francisco tree.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's see. The Bears, the Jets. Who's another team that kind of, appeals to you as far as how they did in the draft?
I mean, I'll stick with that same division. I really liked what Miami did. to trade up to go get Jalen Waddle. I mean, he was probably my top wide receiver other than Jamar Chase. So definitely, a solid number 2 to get him at number 6 right after Chase at 5 to the Bengals. Jalen Phillips at 18. Javon Holland, safety, help him out. And then Liam Echenberg from Notre Dame, the tackle. Seemed like the tackle went after the Bears traded up to get Jenkins. It seemed like tackle just went nuts after 39. So,
which made the Bears look really good in that situation too, because those tackles went off the board like right away as soon as Jenkins was gone. So if they didn't move up, they wouldn't have got one of those other guys in that second tier. Miami had a good draft overall. I think a lot of the times when you have a lot of picks like that early in the first round, it sometimes doesn't work out. So we'll see how it works out for them. But I do like Jalen Waddle. I like his tape. I do believe he's very explosive, and he's a good middle of the field guy for Tua. And I think that they could, with him and Fuller and like Gesicki there, I think he has enough weapons for him there now. And Myles Gaskin, he might be a good.
That's the winner of the draft right there. That Miami didn't draft a running back.
Myles Gaskin is a winner, and I would say Mike Davis might be a winner as of now for the Falcons, because the Falcons didn't take a running back either. But Myles Gaskin has some pretty good appeal, where he's getting drafted off the fantasy boards as well. I would take a stab at him too. I would rather take Gaskin over Davis. I think Gaskin has a little more appeal as a pass catcher, especially in PPR leagues. So, and another team. Let's see. How do you feel about the Jaguars? I know they had a lot of picks in the first couple rounds. Same as like the Jets and the Dolphins. I know they got Trevor Lawrence. Everybody knew that he was going number 1. But how do you feel about the other guys that they picked up in that draft?
Well, I'll save, a little bit for what we're going to talk about later with our top 10 and where guys may have moved with team fits. But, obviously Trevor Lawrence is, he's the Peyton Manning, the Andrew Luck, the guy that's going to come in right away and go, and hopefully take the franchise to new heights and go there. But, ETN, I said in the last podcast that, it's with James Robinson, that might not be a way to go at running back, but Urban Meyer likes his own guys that can be dual threat and everything. I know the kid Tyson Campbell, their second round pick in the first round, he's got a lot of speed, but I don't know what his schemes are like and what he played at Georgia and everything. But I don't know. I felt like they reached a little bit in their drafts. I feel that I don't know. I thought ETN might go a little bit later than that, and then the guys that they picked, they seem to pick more guys from bigger schools just to pick guys from bigger schools.
Yeah, agree. So let's see. I guess the one that surprised me in the first round is the Kadarius Toney pick for the Giants, because I don't feel like I know that they were probably going to be picking a receiver in that spot anyways when they moved down with the Bears from that 11th spot. And we all know that they were trying to go after Devontae Smith. And as soon as the Eagles moved up to take the Cowboys spot, they landed Devontae Smith, and that was it. The Giants are like, nah, I don't think we want to sit here anymore. And that's when they moved back with the Bears. But I personally don't believe that Kadarius Toney was the best available receiver on the board at that point. They could have went with, Rashad Bateman or even like Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore fell to the second round to the Jets, which I thought was a pretty good steal for them in the second round, taking Elijah Moore. he was projected to go in the first round to like the Titans and
Yeah,
somebody who need
I know we all
a
had
guy
him
like
in the.
that. Yeah, exactly. And that was surprising there. And I like Tony and I don't like Tony. I'm like 50-50 with him. Just a guy, he was in college for I think all 4 years, and um sometimes they don't work out when they come in the NFL after 4 years like that. Uh so we'll see how it works out for Daniel Jones and the Giants. He definitely has a lot more weapons there now with Galladay, Tony, Barkley coming back, Evan Ingram's still there. So we'll see how. I guess this is the year that they decide whether or not they want to roll with Daniel Jones after this season's over. So
He's got until Thanksgiving,
yeah, maybe
or
even
maybe even
before
sooner.
that. Right, exactly.
Him and
Um,
Tua.
I mean, I was personally a little disappointed that the Bills didn't come out with the running back in that draft. I know that Najee Harris went to the Steelers at 24, followed by ETN at 25 to the Jaguars. I really didn't expect the Jaguars to pick a running back that early. They have a lot of other needs on that team to go running back in the first round like that after picking their quarterback. And then they still have James Robinson, which was an undrafted rookie, but he showed up last year and now, he might, who knows, maybe they could be like a 1-2 punch there with, like Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in Cleveland. Maybe they're going for something like that there um where ETN comes in as, the pass catcher like Hunt, and then the guy James Robinson is the Nick Chubb. So you never know. See what they're trying to do there.
Hell, welcome to fantasy hell.
Yeah, the whole fantasy hell with running backs this year is going to be really crazy. Like it's been crazy the last few years, but um, this year, literally, like after the first 2 rounds, there's going to be no running backs out there anymore. So you're almost going to have to go like RB heavy in the beginning. Otherwise, you're just going to get stuck there with nothing. Or you're going to have to take a chance on some of these rookies that are lower, ranked a little lower. So besides Elijah Moore, because I mentioned him already, what's another guy that stuck out to you in like the second round? I guess minus like, because we talked about Liam from Notre Dame, we talked about Tevin Jenkins from the Bears. So minus those guys and minus like Elijah Moore, who actually stuck out to you in the second round?
And the second round still, from what I saw, I mean, I keep going to the NFC or AFC East, but Christian Barmore from Alabama, who went to New England, I thought was a heck of a steal. He has great tape. He just had an injury late. That he's kind of played that Vince Wilfork role that they had, or potentially a 3 technique, but he's hopefully going to get after the quarterback and those, after Allen and Zach Wilson and Tua and all those guys out in the AFC East. But that division got a lot tougher.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, a guy that stuck out to me in the second round was probably let's see, I would say Trask actually. I knew that Trask was like projected to go in the second round sometime, like to some teams that actually needed a quarterback that weren't gonna be in range for them in the first round. But I never really thought that the Bucks would make a move like that. I guess it doesn't really surprise me 100% of the way because they have most of their team coming back this year. So why not take a chance on a young guy and have him sit behind Brady and learn from him? But it still was pretty surprising to me though that they took a quarterback in the second round.
Fair, you get your depth and everything. Like, again, let him. Who knows? Maybe Kyle Trask retires before Tom Brady does it. 55, 60 years old. You never know. But the fact that they're bringing back 22 starters, they brought back AB, so they got, their whole offense and defense is back. They're just drafting for depth. Why not get a quarterback? I mean, I can't even know who their backup was in Tampa last year. Part of me wants to say it's Blaine Gabbert, but that doesn't sound right.
No, actually, that might be true, Lane Gabbert. Yeah, you have to look that up, but I think that you might be right on that. Um,
Yeah, that's what
so
it is.
that's who it was.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, another surprising pick for me that I saw happen in the second round, which actually was a little disappointing, was Javonte Williams from North Carolina. Um, it kind of was, you know, it wasn't surprising that he fell to the second round, but it was surprising that that Denver took him because they got Melvin Gordon there, and I guess Melvin Gordon's on a contract year, and maybe they won't sign him again next year. But for for guys that are in dynasty and stuff, they're gonna have to wait like almost a year just to see Javonte Williams because he might not be out there right away. They might just use up Melvin Gordon as much as he's got left in the tank and just let Javonte ride the bench. So
Yeah,
that kind of was a little
bit. He'll play a little bit because they got rid of Philip Lindsay, so he's no longer there. Because that was a guy that would take some carries away from Gordon too, but as a third down back. But
yeah, but overall, like Melvin Gordon looked 10 times better than Philip Lindsay anytime Lindsay was in there. And it might have been because Lindsay was dealing with injuries, but he just looked like a lot more explosive than Lindsay did. I don't think a guy like Javonte Williams is gonna hopefully look better than Melvin Gordon coming in there. So and we'll see. But that was a little disappointing to see him go to the Broncos. I would rather have seen him go somewhere, like the Cardinals um or like another team that he would just be the instant starter. Um there's a guy that stuck out to me in the fourth round, and it was only because the Lions drafted him, and the Lions have no receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the brother of the St. Brown from the Packers. Um, this guy, this guy stuck out to me because the Lions have no receivers, like I said, and they're gonna have to throw it to somebody. So you got Brashard Perriman and then
Tyrell
Hawkinson.
Williams,
Outside of that, yeah,
they really don't have a whole lot. That's give me all the DeAndre Swift you can have.
Yeah, I know.
That they just released Kerryon Johnson today too.
Yeah, you're really convincing me along the lines of that DeAndre Swift the ranking that you had for him, and it might force me to bump him up a little bit more in my rankings after what happened in the draft. So, so you could see the screen that I'm currently on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the top 10 rookies rankings pre-draft that we did. So this is your list here. You had Najee Harris, 1, followed by Travis Etienne, Jamar Chase, Javonte Williams, Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts, Rashad Bateman, Devontae Smith, Elijah Moore, and then number 10 was Trevor Lawrence. So does any of that change for you after the draft? Or
so there's a couple of guys. So I mean, what I would have there, I would probably bump ETN down. I figured ETN would go somewhere like Buffalo at where I would have him at 2. The fact that he goes to Jacksonville now, he's handcuffed with James Williams. He'll probably be more of a third down back. I would probably bump him down. I would probably say to 4.
Oh, James Robinson. You said James Williams.
I'm looking at Javonte Williams on the screen, but James Robinson, he's got a tailback with James Robinson.
Where do you want to put ETN then number 4?
I'd probably move him to 4, yeah.
Okay. I'll do it currently as we speak. So yeah, just keep talking.
No worries. Devontae Smith going to Philly. He's good there. Kyle Pitts is a beast. He probably almost might go a little bit higher than that to above ETN as well. Couple of sleeper guys though that are coming in from from that though is I like Rondale Moore, who got drafted by Arizona by way of Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they've got, obviously Nuke is number one and he ain't going anywhere. But the fact that they've got, AJ Green, who hasn't really been healthy in 3 years, 2-3 years, and then Christian Kirk, who has been, it seems like he'll have one good game a year, but I feel like that's the role that Rondale Moore is going to play into. He'll get a little bit, the jet sweep action too, where you might get, a big run for, 40, 50 yards and a touchdown or something like that coming out early. And then another guy is Terrence Marshall. Don't call him Terrence Marshall, but Terrence Marshall.
From the Panthers.
By way of Ellis from Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Is another guy. He can play a little bit inside with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson on the outside. Plus Joe Brady knows who he's dealing with there for being the offensive coordinator for LSU while he was there as well.
Okay, so those guys made your list then now, huh?
I wouldn't say they're in the top 10. I feel like the top 10's fairly solid. I wouldn't move a whole lot of names, more positional or more ranking wise, might move them up or down, but for sure sleeper, within the top 15 now with those two guys with Moore and Marshall.
Moore and Marshall in the top 15. Okay.
Yeah. I would say
so for the
15,
most,
they wouldn't.
So for the most, 10, gotcha. So for the most part, then your list is the same. It's just that maybe a couple guys, move up or down.
Yeah. Just now that we have, the teams names the teams now.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you could just send me that later on then, whenever you want to, and I could update it. But so I actually listed like a sleeper, and that was the guy I was talking about, the Amon-Ra St. Brown from Detroit. For me, is my sleeper, like, I guess to start the season, because he was drafted in the 4th round and the Lions have no receivers. So is there like a guy that is coming in as a rookie that you would consider a sleeper that comes to mind?
I still like Rondale Moore. I mean, he's probably the wide receiver 4 on that team, because I know Larry Fitzgerald hasn't, committed fully yet to whether he's coming back or not. Mm-hmm. But he's probably, I believe he was drafted in the 2nd round.
Yeah, he was taken in the 2nd round by Arizona. Yep, that's correct.
But, with the dual threat with, the jet sweeps and all that stuff that, they like to run, especially with Kyler Murray running around, where he might get those little touch passes and then he can take it 60 yards to the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he might be a sleeper. I guess, yeah, you could consider him a sleeper for fantasy, because you don't really know what his role is going to be coming in. And, I mean, it gives Kyler another weapon, so that's always good for him too. And they don't really have an established tight end there, so it's really only Hopkins. Fitzgerald is, aging and almost on his way out. Christian Kirk wasn't really like what they expected, and they have no tight end. No really like established running back. It's probably going to be like a split between the two guys that are there. So, that's a good pick for a sleeper. I could see that. My list actually changed like a lot, and it's mainly because I had so many quarterbacks, up there. A lot of the quarterbacks ended up going really early, but there's not a lot of clarity as of right now when these quarterbacks will come in and when they will start or when they will play, other than the first 2 that went, which were Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, because the Jets don't have a quarterback, the Jaguars don't have a quarterback. Both of those guys are coming in week 1 and they're going to start. So that they're going to be playing from the beginning. So they're going to have some type of fantasy appeal. May not be, that great to begin with, or maybe not even for the whole season, but they're at least going to have something. So those guys still made my list, but they're not as high as I had them. So my Pre-1 was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Kyle Pitts, Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Jalen Waddle, and Travis Etienne. So in the second one, I actually got rid of Trey Lance. He's no longer on my rookie rankings anymore because he went to San Francisco, but right now, that Jimmy Garoppolo is still there. So as long as Jimmy Garoppolo's there until the season starts, until he messes up, it's his job to lose. There's not going to be any Trey Lance yet. So he really doesn't have any appeal right now in redraft leagues. If you're in a dynasty league, of course you're going to want somebody like that, but this, none of the leagues I am in are in dynasty. So and then Justin Fields is still on my list, but he dropped down to number 7. I have Najee Harris number 1. He went to Pittsburgh. He's going to get all the opportunity there. He's my number 1 also now. He's a good pass catcher. He'll be a good addition for Ben Roethlisberger, another target for him. And they had almost 0 run game last year, so hopefully it takes off some pressure from Big Ben and he doesn't have to throw as much as he did last season. I think the offensive line is still a problem, and they didn't really address it. But the rookie running back coming in the first round with that capital, he's gonna get work. So Devontae Smith surprisingly is my number 2. The reason why I have him number 2 is because the Eagles moved up for him. They invested that, first round capital in him, and they moved up to get him. Obviously, they wanted to steal him from the Giants, but they still moved up to get him nevertheless. And they don't really have an established receiver there. They took Jalen Reagor last year, got injured, didn't really play much or really produce last season. So he's not really a number 1, though, in my opinion. Devontae Smith is more of a number 1. So I think he's going to have a good season. He could be somewhere around. I don't know if he's going to really be as good as Justin Jefferson was last season, but I think that he is going to have a pretty good rookie season. Kyle Pitts, number 3 for me. And then I got Chase, Waddle, Trevor Lawrence, 6, 7 Fields, 8 ETN. ETN actually got bumped up a little bit for me. I had him 10. The reason why I bumped him up is because, it's obvious that the Jaguars and Urban Meyer really wanted Trevor Lawrence to come in feeling comfortable. So why not take, his running back that he worked with already? He threw the ball to. He has established chemistry with. That's the best way to get your quarterback going from the start. So they went out and they got Travis Etienne, and like I said, that could be a good 1-2 punch with him and James Robinson, another Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, maybe. And I do have Zach Wilson and Michael Carter on my list. Wilson's 10. I have Michael Carter 9, and it's kind of what I was saying earlier. I just think that was a really great pick for them in the 4th round. They don't have a good running back established there. Outside of the only running back they had was P. Ryan. And they did add Elijah Vera Tucker at guard. So I think that they're gonna come in this year and they're gonna try to run the ball, because overall, when you run the ball more, your quarterback is more effective in the passing game, play action, everything. So yeah, that's my list in a nutshell. So any comments on that or anything like that, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, I don't know. With the quarterbacks, if you're doing a redraft league, I don't know. I just don't like all the quarterbacks in the top 10. Curious to see why you still have Justin Fields over Zach Wilson if Zach Wilson's going to start day 1.
Because of I just feel like Justin Fields was the second best quarterback in his draft because of his collegiate career at Ohio State. He beat Trevor Lawrence. He went to the championship, lost to Alabama, was playing injured, still came through against Clemson, had a dominating, and I mean dominating 2019 season for Ohio State. He's in my opinion, he has a better arm. He runs the ball more effectively. He's a bigger guy. And I get your point that Wilson's going to start right away, but they did put a lot of weapons around Wilson too. So they're not completely leaving it up to him to run to come in day one and just like light it up. So whereas the Bears, they've got question marks everywhere. Allen Robinson's on a 1-year franchise tag. We have Darnell Mooney, who's pretty decent. Cole Kmet hasn't proved anything last season. Our running backs are kind of, who knows who's going to be good and not this year. We got David Montgomery coming off a good year, but you got Cohen coming back. So eventually when Fields gets in there, I think he's going to be the main guy and the reason why the Bears offense gets going overall. And I think that you don't need a whole season to put up better fantasy numbers for a quarterback. You don't need to start the whole season or start the season in week 1. And I think he could still do it with his legs and with his arm. And he could even beat out Zach Wilson's fantasy points overall by the end of the season. As long as he starts, I'm going to give it's also, there's also a 17th game on the schedule this year too. So that's another game for Fields to get in there and play. But I'm going to say that if he comes in, around week 6 or 7 at least, maybe even before that, like with week 5, he has a good chance of still beating Zach Wilson out.
So you're thinking sometime by Thanksgiving he'll be in by like week 8, week 7, week 8?
Yeah, I think for sure it's going to be mid-season, if not before. And it's just because they invested a lot in Fields, and they may not want to put him out there right away, to just throw him out there to the wolves, as they say. But he's their future, so they're going to have to see what they got in him, especially if Nagy doesn't end up being around next season and he gets fired. What we have to know what we have in Fields, and it's going to matter to the next coach coming in if they want to even come in to work with them. So he's definitely getting in there. It just may not be for a few weeks. So
I mean, I completely agree with Justin Fields getting in there, but it's the same situation that happened with Trubisky, that if they start struggling, they start out 0-2, 1-3, somewhere like that, there's going to be some panic between fan base, because now they'll be back at Soldier Field. They're going to start booing if they're not good, so they're going to have a little bit more pressure there now too. Or they're going to have to see what he's got, because they're going to be calling for him week 1, because no one wants to see Dalton or Nick Foles out there again. So I mean, I completely understand that, but with all the quarterbacks that you have on there, you not like the receivers or running backs?
Like I said, I like Robinson, obviously, but we don't know if he's going to stick around after this year because he's on a 1-year franchise tag. I did see a lot of good in Mooney, but overall, I think that they're still missing. They're missing a piece there for the receiving core. If my thing is that if Kmet really steps up this year, the way that I expect them to, by them just featuring him more and throwing it to him more, I think that would give a really, really good weapon for someone like Fields, right in the middle of the field like that. To just come in and catch all those passes in the middle of the field, move the chains. But, to answer that question, I would say I really want a little more, but overall it's decent. So, not everybody can have, a DK Metcalf and a Tyler Lockett, it just doesn't work like that anymore. But I think that the Bears have been doing a really good job with their later picks though in the drafts. Like Mooney was a 5th-round pick. They're they're actually talking about the guy that they got this year in the 5th round a lot, 5th or 6th round, the receiver out of UNC. So maybe what's that?
Gaz Newsome.
Yeah, so maybe he can come in and and do something, show something this year. I'm just really worried about Robinson though. Like I need to see enough of Fields and Robinson together to even have hope that they're going to be able to re-sign Robinson. Because if they don't re-sign Robinson, like that's the end of that. And now we're going to have to go out there and hope that there's going to be some type of free agent wide receiver that we can sign for Fields. So, yeah, just a little worrisome as of now, but hopefully things get better. A lot of people are on the hype train now because there's hope, but it just seems like every year there's always hope with the Bears. So I'm not really jumping on that hope, 100% hope train as of right now. But I'm definitely going to be excited to see Fields play, and as soon as he starts, it's going to be great to watch. So I can't wait for that. That pretty much concludes the rookie rankings and the draft wrap up. Maybe we have a little more time, I believe, so we could actually go into the next topic. This next topic is 1st-round players to stay away from. So currently, I'll just go ahead and I'll pull up like a rankings list. I think we're actually going back to ESPN this year. So we'll pull up that ranking list and just see like who's projected. Off the top of your head, does anyone come to mind though that may be like a 1st-round investment that you kind of are staying away from?
Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because until we know what goes on with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it's kind of like what with Michael Thomas is in New Orleans. You just don't know. I mean, as much as he is, a beast and, scoring 16, 17 touchdowns a year, it's just if, you don't know what you have in Jordan Love or, what you've seen in the past with anybody that's not Rodgers at quarterback, it's just there's not a lot there. So,
yeah, I agree. Devontae Adams is a little scary to be taking a first round tender on because you don't know the situation right now with Rodgers. And ultimately, if Rodgers is gone and he's not there in Green Bay anymore, I'm not even sure if I even want Devontae Adams on my team anymore because I have no idea how he's going to look with Jordan Love there. So, and that's something that would have to make me like wait a year and see how it is. But I definitely don't want to be investing no 1st-round capital on him. I'm not really big on receivers in the 1st round either, because of the fact that we talked about it earlier. There's just not a lot of running backs out there. They're all gone off the board by the 2nd round. So there's not really anybody that I'm willing to take a chance on that early. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, the Devontae Adams one was probably like the number one answer there. So good job there. And what about a running back? Do any of these running backs come to mind? Because a lot of these guys that I have pulled up right here, I would say all the way to about Aaron Jones, probably, maybe even Nick Chubb. These guys would probably be like 1st-round like running backs right here. So any of those guys from 1 to 10, you feel like any of those guys you would stay away from?
As far as a 1st-round talent, I mean, I don't know. Zeke for for what he's done, for after he got his contract and got hurt, he lost his old line and all that stuff. And now they're paying Dak. They paid Amari Cooper and all this stuff. They're going to throw the ball. And Zeke's not the greatest at catching the football out of the backfield. But to have a first-round tender, I'd rather just pass on somebody, to maybe get a Jonathan Taylor on a rebound season with a new quarterback and Carson Wentz and Austin Eckler, guys that are underneath him, at least on these rankings from ESPN. But to get more of a dual threat guy, especially if you're playing in that PPR league.
Yeah. I don't feel too good about Jonathan Taylor as of right now, and I don't know why, but I'm not completely buying into Taylor just yet, especially for a first round pick. I would probably take a stab at Zeke, but it would have to be like on the turnaround. So if I'm like, if it's like a 10-team league, 12-team league, if I'm drafting like, 10th or 11th in one of those, or even 12th, I'd probably take Zeke with my second pick. If I'm assuming going running back, and he's there, I'm gonna take him like on the turnaround. So yeah, I guess he's not a first round pick for me either. But definitely if he falls to the second round, that's for me. I'm pulling the trigger on that. Let's see. How do you feel about Aaron Jones? Because with the whole Aaron Rodgers news coming out, him maybe wanting a trade or not wanting to play with the Packers, may not be there to start the season. How do you feel about Jones like without Aaron Rodgers? You think he's still gonna be the Aaron Jones that we've seen in the past?
I don't know. The fact that it seemed like Aaron Jones, he tried, he tested out free agency and it didn't sound like he had a whole lot of suitors. So he kind of came back running to Green Bay. So it didn't seem like a whole lot of guys were on the Aaron Jones bandwagon, at least in the league. But I know they drafted a kid, AJ Dillon, who's more of a power back, which he might start stealing some red zone touches from Aaron Jones as well. So I mean, I would probably move him closer out of the second round, area as well. Because I believe he was a second round pick in our league last year as well.
Yeah. I feel like everybody like undervalues Aaron Jones every year though, and every single year he just is always like a top.
Oh, yeah, he led the league in touchdowns. He's led the league in rushing touchdowns. I believe combined the last 2 or 3 seasons. So the production's there. It's just for whatever reason, you're right. He does get undervalued.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna be on the opposite end of that analysis this year, and I'm gonna probably be in on Aaron Jones this year, regardless of what happens with Aaron Rodgers, because I feel like even if Rodgers is gone, I feel like Aaron Jones' value could possibly even go up. So he's been there already with Matt LaFleur. The offense has run through him a couple times. With Aaron Rodgers there, like passing to him and letting him run the ball and stuff. So Jordan Love could struggle, and they might just have no choice but to hand the ball off to Aaron Jones or throw some dumb passes to him, and it could make his fantasy value go up a little more. Even though the team might not look that good, his fantasy value could be good though.
The only thing that scares me about that is the fact that who knows if David Bakhtiari is going to be back with that torn ACL that he had in December right before the playoff game. And they lost Corey Linsley to the Chargers, their Pro Bowl center. So, they lost a lot of guys on the offensive line that it may not be as productive as years past.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that too. So that's also a good point, valid point. Guys also coming off injury scare me a little bit, taking them in the first round. I know you really shouldn't think about that kind of stuff like when you're doing fantasy drafts, but
give me all the Barkley and CMC.
Saquon Barkley scares me a lot more than CMC. I think that The problem with CMC to me is that he's like ranked number 1 still. And I understand it's because PPR scoring and he gets a lot of catches and he had that monstrous 2019 season. But I don't know if he's going to really bring back number 1 value this year again, like he did in 2019. And to me, like I really only see with this top 10 list, I really only see like 3 guys that are like safe picks. For me, it's Delvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Kamara. Those are the 3 safe picks in the first round.
Yeah, I could say, being safe is great, and especially at the top. But I mean, with McCaffrey, McCaffrey is going to give you top 5. I mean, if you don't want to draft him 101, who knows if your league does trades and you can get out of that first spot. If you don't, you can grab another pick later on, or even just to get out of it altogether. But I don't know, with Saquon coming back from the ACL, he's young enough. Got to remember those years where AP, he tore his ACL the year before, and then he came back and ran for almost over 2,000 yards. So,
yeah,
the ACL injuries aren't as bad as they used to be. And plus, like you said, with the Giants, they've got a lot more around him. So now he won't be facing stacked boxes anymore with 8 in the box, 9 in the box, trying to stop him.
Yeah, I guess it's not going to be all about Barkley, and because they have other guys there now. So, Barkley's a good PPR guy too, catches the ball a lot. I'm surprised that Derrick Henry is ranked number 3 in PPR too. That's actually surprising to me. I just can't imagine. Can you imagine a world where Henry just gets a slight bump in catches? My goodness, his value would be so much better. I mean, it's great enough now as it is, but wow, I just can't imagine if that would happen. If he would just get 30 more targets or whatever, 40 more targets even, like it would just be so great for Henry's value, especially if you're going to get him as the number 3 running back off the board. But yeah, like you said about the trading back scenario, I honestly wouldn't mind doing that. If I had the number 1 pick, I think that I would be willing to trade back to maybe 3 or 4. Because I could still get some decent value with those picks. And if I can get another pick out of that too, that would be also great.
Yeah, for sure. I for sure agree, though, that the tier is for sure probably Barkley at 5, and then everything underneath that is for sure tier 2, tier 3, probably ending with, Cam Akers or DeAndre Swift. I don't really have Cam Akers that high. He's at 11. I'd probably bump him down probably 13 or 14 compared to 11 that's on that list, but not a big Rams fan anyway when it comes to running the football.
Yeah, for this list for me, like I feel like Gibson is pretty low too. Number 15, like I feel like easily Gibson could be 11 where Cam Akers is. And Cam Akers can slide all the way down to that 15 spot for me. I would feel better if it was Gibson followed by DeAndre Swift. Mixon has to be ranked a little higher, I guess, because Bernard's gone and they have no one else there, and they want to get him involved. It looks like every year, he just can't stay healthy. I really like Austin Eckler this year, though. I liked him last year too, and I actually took him in another league with my first round pick, and it was because my second round pick, because my first round pick was Thomas, and that's where I went wrong because obviously Thomas had a horrible season, and you don't pick wide receivers in the first round, you just don't. And I did it last year, and that just bit me in the butt. Even if he didn't get injured, he wouldn't have given me back the value that I invested in taking him so early like that. But back to my point of Eckler, Eckler's a PPR machine, and he has good chemistry with Herbert. Him and Keenan Allen, they're gonna catch the ball, they're gonna get targets. Herbert surprised a lot of people and opened a lot of eyes last year. And I just think that there's going to be good value with Eckler this year, especially if you can get him later in the first or maybe even like on a turnaround second round. There's going to be a lot of good value right there for Eckler. So especially obviously in PPR, which is, I mean, most of the leagues I'm in are in PPR. So, and let's go to receivers.
Looking at that list, though, going back to running backs, if you don't draft RB, you're in trouble. Because if you go anything under 25, you're in trouble.
Exactly. Back to that list, what I was saying, right? You get up to
David
number
Johnson,
20.
Mostert, Mike Davis. You don't want any of that on your roster unless it's an emergency start on a bye.
Exactly. And right after, I would say the cutoff for me would be after Najee Harris, pretty much. I mean, Kareem Hunt is an okay flex, but they got Nick Chubb there. The offense runs through Nick Chubb. So after Hunt, it's David Johnson, Mostert, Fournette, James Robinson, Mike Davis, Melvin Gordon, Ronald Jones, Travis Etienne. Like, the list is just all downhill from that point on. So, even like right in this kind of like 17 range, like I don't want Josh Jacobs. He has Kenyon Drake there. I think I would give Clyde Edwards another chance, especially if he's gonna fall to you in like the third round. I don't really want any part of Carson. He can't stay healthy. David Montgomery, I'm sorry. I don't know how I feel about Montgomery this year. We were talking about the Bears. Cohen's coming back. They signed Damian Harris. Sounds like they're trying to run the ball, but it also sounds like they're not, trying to make Montgomery like overwork himself. So I don't know if he's going to have good enough value. Maybe being drafted that low, he might. So, but Gaskin, good. I think he's going to be a good flex option, like I said. And actually, Chase Edmonds could have been a winner in this draft too. You might actually think that too, because the Cardinals were in kind of like line for taking a running back as well, and they didn't end up getting any of the top running backs. So Chase Edmonds is just sitting there now without Kenyon Drake, and who knows? Who knows?
Out of Edmonds and Harris, those would probably be my two guys at 22 and 23 that you can almost bump up to about 17, 18, somewhere out there.
Yeah, definitely Najee Harris has got to get he's got to get a bump up to at least, I would say 17, where Josh Jacobs is sitting, because Harris is the guy in Pittsburgh. There's nobody else there. Connor's gone. They invested first-round capital in him. He's the guy. So, yeah, he has to get bumped up. So going on to the receivers here, who's a guy? So we're probably off of first-round receivers, me and you, because we're running back heavy. But who's a guy that you would consider taking in, like, I would say, let's go like third round. Who would you consider taking in the third round if he's just sitting there?
Perfect scenario, you get your two running backs. Hopefully you're, somewhere in the middle rounds, or you can get your middle of that first round where you can get, round pick 4 or 5, where you can get, Saquon or Chef Cook or something like that, in that area. But, and you're coming around in that wraparound, pick, what would that be, 25, I guess, on the third round.
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably out of your top 8 receivers. So
you're looking at,
Michael Thomas would probably be gone by then. Justin Jefferson, someone might try to jump on that.
Ridley, I would say everybody up to Ridley would be gone, in my opinion. Yeah. So you're looking at like probably McLaurin, Robinson, Cooper. Between those guys, I would probably want McLaurin.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
Followed by
he's their number one.
Robinson.
He's not getting target. He's going to get targets. Robinson will get targets.
Exactly. And then
after
Cooper.
that, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Robert Woods, Deontay Johnson, they're all, targets are going to, for at least for a wide receiver one, you want the number one receiver on a team.
I'm in on Julio this year. He's falling.
He's still a Falcon.
Really,
that's the problem.
I mean, even if he's not a Falcon, though, how do you not want Julio on your team after what he's done and even playing through injury and just him like sitting here at number 19 overall is just, to me, it's just crazy. Like, I would be more than willing to take Julio as my wide receiver too. Why not? I mean, if I'm starting to draft with two good running backs and I come back and I take McLaurin or Robinson and Julio's sitting there for my next pick, I'm jumping on him. Like, there's no questions asked about that. I wouldn't even have to think about it twice.
Yeah,
I think he's going to have really good value this year, no matter where he is, even if he's not with the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, he had the injury concerns. He's getting up there in age. And, they brought in Pitts. They have Calvin Ridley. So, I mean, I get it. The target share may not be there anymore. But, if I'm looking for sure wide receiver one, you need the target share. Wide receiver two, if you can find a wide receiver one on another team. Looking at that list, I'm looking at a guy like T. Higgins, Kenny Golladay. I mean, I had Golladay in a draft and basically sat on the bench the entire year because he didn't play. But if you can get a guy like that, I mean, Tyler Boyd might steal some targets away from T. Higgins, but those guys are both going to get targets. I mean, I like both of those guys, especially with Jamar Chase coming in there too, that they're going to be throwing a lot. They're probably going to be losing a lot playing in that division with Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Baltimore. So they're going to be throwing.
Yeah, I mean, where's Jamar Chase on this list? Because is he way down here? I mean, Jamar Chase is 38 on this list. That's nuts to me.
That's a wide receiver 3, though.
But in my opinion,
not ranked by 3 guys, so they haven't updated their stuff yet.
Maybe not.
Look at it; he's a wide receiver 2, according to these other guys.
Okay, maybe they didn't update it then. But if he's sitting here like this low at the start of the draft, I'm in on Chase because he's the number one there. Like, they drafted him with this 5th pick overall, and they passed on a offensive tackle for him, and he has chemistry with Joe Burrow already. So I think their concern was Burrow's injury. Coming off that injury, they don't know if he's going to start the season or not. Why not draft this guy that he had chemistry with already in college, put up great numbers, and then when he comes back from injury, he could just connect with that guy like right away. It makes a lot of sense that way, because no one really thought that it made a lot of sense when they had the best offensive tackle sitting there for him, and you're having a guy coming off injury that needs protection. But that's kind of the way I break it down. Like, he had chemistry with Jamar Chase in college. They put up great numbers, and Burrow's coming back from injury. He might not play to start the season. So let him come back on his own time to be fully healthy before he plays, and he'll have that chemistry with Chase instantly, right away from the beginning. So
I agree. I said in my preseasons, with way too early predictions, that the Bengals were going to have a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2 on their roster.
Yeah.
Rankings.
Yeah, no, you're right about that for sure with T. Higgins and Chase. But I just think that, if this list remains the way it is, I'm in on Chase and I'm out on Higgins because I don't want a wide receiver 2 all the way up here like that with rank 24. I'd be more willing to take Cortland Sutton coming off injury. He showed a lot before his injury. I honestly would even rather have, like, call me crazy, but I might even rather have Odell than Higgins. I don't know if you think that way or you think differently on that.
Yeah, again, Odell. Who knows? Odell's great. Shoot, he could be a top, 12 guy all the time too, but it's just, does he want to play? Will he stay healthy? All that stuff too. And again, Cleveland's more of a running team as well. Plus, I'm not sold on Baker. If with your wide receivers, you got to have a good quarterback too.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Baker Mayfield is definitely not a number one guy. I mean, coming, from being drafted as the number one guy overall to the Browns, he hasn't showed that. And I mean, he has talent around him now, though. He has Nick Chubb and he has Kareem Hunt, and Odell should come back pretty strong off of his injury. So he looked better last year. He made the playoffs with the team and he beat the Steelers rather. So he's coming in and I think he'll be all right. But yeah, to your point, I don't think he has really showed that he's been the number one guy like overall so far. I guess I don't really see that changing anytime soon either. Let's see. I kind of like CeeDee Lamb this year, and it's mainly because Dak Prescott with him last year in those like 4 games, he averaged like 80 yards or something, 6 or 7 catches. So he had really good chemistry with Dak, and Dak is coming back off his injury, and sounds like things are going well for Dak too. He's supposedly saying that he could start right away if there was a game tomorrow. So sounds like his rehab is going really well. But the Cowboys could be scary on offense this year again if Dak is back at his at his greatness again. And I got to get some pieces of that offense.
Yeah, you for sure want the receivers over the running backs, I think, with that team, because they're going to be throwing the ball, especially now with Dak getting $40 million a year, they're going to be throwing the ball 40 times a game.
Yep. So give me some Murray and give me some sorry, I lost my train of thought. And give me some of the guy I was just talking about. I can't.
CeeDee Lamb.
Exactly. Let's see. How do you feel about the Pittsburgh receivers this year? Juju's coming back. Well, they got the crew back together. Juju's coming back. Chase Claypool, the dropping guy but target machine, and Deontay Johnson, or is it Deontay Johnson?
Yeah, Deontay Johnson. I'm just curious to see how much if they're more of the 11-0 team, or if they're more of the let's drop 5 out of 6, including a playoff game. I mean, it just seemed like they were 2 completely different teams out there. I mean, with Roethlisberger, I'm not sold on it. I know he's, his better days are behind him now, but I'd stay away from those guys in Pittsburgh.
I think Big Ben just lost his gas towards the end of the season with them not being able to run the ball at all and him having to throw so much. I think he just wore out. And I think that they'll be a little better this year with Najee. They obviously needed a running game, and they obviously proved that they needed a running game by drafting him in the first round when they still needed help on the offensive line. But I think that Harris is going to open up the passing game a little more too for him. So I like Claypool. I think that anytime you can get a big body receiver like that, that's a red zone threat. That's kind of what I look for when there's like multiple guys there that Big Ben's going to throw to. But I'm not going to be investing a lot in the Steelers. Like if I have, Najee as my RB3, my flex, I'm not going to be taking like Claypool or Deontay or anybody like that. But if I miss out on Najee, I might take a stab at Claypool later on, just to have him on my bench and see what he does. And
Yeah, I'm more. Give me the guys with the young QBs that have something to prove. Give me Chargers. Give me Jacksonville. DJ Shark is another guy that I see there that could have a big comeback. He was injured last year and didn't really prove a whole lot, but they might be working off that play action with their two-headed running back team a lot too, and going down the field.
yeah, they got a lot of weapons there for Lawrence too. So it's gonna be interesting to see who comes out on top there. But I guess it's it could be Chark, it could be Marvin Jones. You never know. So we'll see what happens there. And if you want to take a stab at someone like Chark later on, it's not a bad idea. So I'm probably completely staying away from Houston this year. Don't see any fantasy value with that team whatsoever. I would say Michael Thomas scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Coming off the injury, not looking like himself, no Drew Brees, not knowing who the hell the quarterback is going to be, or if it's even going to be the same guy every week. Michael Thomas scares me. I'm in on Kamara because he has value as a runner and a pass catcher, but I don't think I really want any of Michael Thomas this year.
Nope. I don't want a whole lot of Saints either. Even Kamara, I mean, he'll work the screen game and all that stuff, and he'll get his 6 yards, but who knows if they're scoring. I mean, he's always been a 15-touch guy. He just gets his 100 yards, and he'll get his 5 catches, his 12 10 to 12 carries, and he just does so much with it. But give me guys with more production, or with more opportunity, not more production, but opportunity.
Exactly. Oh man, a receiver that I'm really big on this year is AJ Brown. I think that I was really high on him before the draft, and after the draft, after I seen that Tennessee didn't take a first round receiver or grab Elijah Moore, they got, they lost Jonnu and Corey Davis in free agency. It's just basically AJ Brown and Josh Reynolds as we sit right now. So that means all of those vacated targets that are gone are probably going to go all to AJ Brown. And I think he's just going to have a monstrous season, especially after last year. I heard he actually got surgery after the season, and he's actually playing injured most of the season last year. And if that was him playing injured last year, give me fully healthy AJ Brown and watch out. I think he's going to be tremendous this year. It would be really cool if he ended up falling to the 3rd round. There'll
be too many guys that are going to go, they're going to see their big name wide receivers and they're going to see their running backs. You're like, I don't want that. And then all of a sudden then they'll wind up, I really don't want that in the 3rd or the 4th round, but I don't know. There's just too much value, especially in a PPR league at wide receiver, where a lot of these guys will probably go in the 2nd round.
Yeah, definitely Tyreek Hill, Diggs, Hopkins. Those guys are all going in the 2nd round for sure. Maybe even 1st for Hill and Diggs, if it's PPR. I guess, yeah, AJ Brown's probably projected as a 2nd round pick right now. I really don't want to take a receiver in the 2nd round, but it would really depend on who's sitting on the board, on the board right there as a running back in the 2nd round. If I think AJ Brown is going to be a better value than the running back that's there, then I'll take my shot on him. But I'm definitely fully in on AJ Brown this year, for sure. Who's a receiver that you're fully in on?
I mean, I'm with you with AJ Brown. I mean, as a guy, I mean, I love me some Terry McLaurin. I mean, it's a late round pick. your late,
I like it.
late, but third round,
I like it
for
too.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
As far as round 3 goes, I mean, if Julio's got that value at 19, I don't know. I still might pass on it as well, but I mean, there's a lot of value. That's especially what you want, in those 3rd and 4th rounds. You want to get some good value. So,
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm fully in on McLaurin this year too. And if you can get him in the 3rd round as your wide receiver 1, that's good value if you can manage to get 2 good running backs with the first 2 picks. I like Fitzpatrick there. He's the man this year. They didn't draft a quarterback. It's fully Fitzpatrick the whole year. Maybe those rookies or that rookie last year
Taylor
uh,
Heineke.
might learn from Fitzpatrick a little bit, sitting behind him. But Fitzpatrick likes to sling the ball, and he has some good uh, pieces there to sling the ball to. Logan Thomas, they brought in Curtis Samuel in free agency. They got McLaurin there. They got Gibson, who's a good pass catcher. They also got McKissick, so got a lot of catching options for Fitzpatrick. And overall, I believe that it's gonna just make McLaurin better because he's not gonna be the only guy there now, and they're not gonna be shadowing him, double teaming him all the time, and he's gonna be able to get open more. So yeah, I do agree. I do like McLaurin a lot. I actually wrote an article on Fitzpatrick or McLaurin this year too on the website, so you should check that out. Um, yeah, so outside of that though, most of the guys are, you know, take a stab at some of them here and there, but overall, like the top guys that are out there are obviously Adams, Hill, Diggs, Hopkins. Hopkins is a top pick every year. PPR machine just doesn't get the touchdowns. So give me AJ Brown all day though, because he does get touchdowns too. He has that breakaway speed. Concludes this session, guys. Thank you for listening to the SSFFL podcast. I'm Chuck.
Jeremy, guys.
Take it easy, everyone. And until next time, see you later.